The sun has set here in Melbourne. Henry, I am not in Belgium. The live show is live. Play the intro, Luke. So we have travelled from sunny Brittany down south of the border here to Melbourne, where it is a little bit freezing cold, but we're managing. Why are we down here? Well, just really quickly, guys, we were down here for a KOM Financial Advice Zwift event last night with the international cycling executives. So the premise of this thing was that we were meant to be the elite riders turning up to show the corporates how to do it. Well, the only problem was that, the kind of corporates smashed us, and, we didn't really get going with it. What we ended up doing, though, is we've come down here to Melbourne. Unfortunately, I have not been joined by Angus Calder. He has a very large head at the moment. He's getting a lot of positive feedback with how he's doing on the show. He now only flies business class, so he's had to stay in Brittany. We also thought we'd do it a little bit differently this evening. Instead of just doing stage by stage by stage, we kind of thought we'd get some opinions, and we thought we'd try and find the most opinionated, stubborn human we could find, and we found Daniel van der Laan. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. That doesn't sound like a compliment.
No, it's not a compliment.
But it's good to be thought of, and it's good to be on the show, and I'm going to have to live up to the professionalness of Angus Calder, but hopefully I can get a few things right, unlike Angus over the last couple of days. Cause
all right.
pretty terrible job.
We're going straight into it, are we?
Yes.
Right, straight into it. So, a couple of days ago, we wrote off Peter Sagan. I may have been quoted as saying that I'd never seen him get dropped like that before. He subsequently went on to win.
He won the next day. So writing off Peter Sagan, that's where you went wrong to start off with. You never write off Peter Sagan. Why would you not expect him to get dropped in a TTT? Is he ever going to win that TTT? No. Was Bora ever going to win that TTT? No. Do they really have a GC rider that they really need to protect? Again, no. So why not save his legs? Why not save something for the next day? And he showed the next day that he had plenty of legs still and won. And that's what you want. You want your team winning races. And he won the race.
So he was dropped from the team time trial, or he saved his legs?
He was not dropped. He saved his legs.
So he basically was quite happy to sacrifice whatever effort he could have done for Rafael Majka.
Look,
for saving his legs.
Rafael Majka is not going to be up there in the overall, I don't think. He's much better off trying to get in the breakaway, spend some time in the breakaway, get some KOM points, and go for that KOM jersey. So, no, he's done nothing wrong by Rafael Majka because he's not going to be there in the overall.
Well, considering Angus isn't here, I thought I might actually backtrack on another comment that we made. So early on, we commented on disc brakes and how they were literally just taking off in the peloton. However, I did notice that. So Mr. Chabanel, stage 2, was on that breakaway on that lovely disc brake bike. Fast forward to stage 5, he's in the breakaway again, and he's on a rim brake bike. I wonder whether maybe he wasn't happy with the way it rode. There were a few more lumps and bumps. I have a feeling you might have an opinion on some disc brakes, possibly.
I'm so glad you brought up disc brakes, Chris, because disc brakes, they are a pet hate of mine. I really dislike disc brakes. I think that they are an absolute waste of time. I think all these bike brands just want to sell a few more bikes. So let's go through a little period of maybe, say, 5 years of really promoting these disc bikes, making all of the pro riders ride on them. Unfortunately, they can't make them ride them every day, so when they get their own choice, Sylvain Chavanel's going to go for the rim brake bike. But yeah, they're just not going to last. They're just not necessary. You never crash because you don't have enough brakes. Often it's grabbing too much brakes is going to cause a crash. They're a pain in the ass to maintain. They're just harder than rim brakes. If you get a flat, it's going to take longer. It has to take longer. It's more fiddly. So yeah, they're probably going to end up hurting someone quite badly, and then they're going to be back out of the pro peloton. They're going to be great for your commuters if that's what you're into. They're going to be great for people just getting into cycling when they feel they need a little bit more brakes. But if you're grabbing the brakes that heavy that you need disc brakes, you probably should learn how to corner or descend.
2020 tour, will we see a fully disc brake peloton?
No, you'll never see a fully disc brake peloton. 2020 tour, I think they might already be phasing back out again.
Agree or disagree? Pop it in the comment section, guys. Speaking of non-disc brakes, you can pop up the stage 6 photos there, Luke, if you want. Speaking of non-disc brake bikes, a non-disc brake rig, that's not the right... it doesn't matter. Yeah, so non-disc brake bike actually won the top of the hill, followed by a few other non-disc brake bikes, but there were quite a few mechanicals in that run, and I know you want to talk about this. 5Ks to go. This is like what's going on in the tour at the moment. Everything's just kicking off right at the end. You think the teams have managed it pretty interestingly?
So I actually think the boys have done quite well. So we've got
stage 6.
we've got Sunweb, and both Sunweb and AG2 are both having big solid mechanicals in that last little 10Ks or so.
Yep.
And to only have lost less than a minute, I think you've done pretty well. For something that catastrophic to happen, something bad is always going to happen on your tour, and if that happens and you're only losing that minute, you've done pretty well. So I think they've managed it really quite well. So they've done it very differently though.
Yeah.
And
well, this is the obvious one, right? Okay, so obviously the two big mechanicals right at the end there were Tom Dumoulin and Romain Bardet. Two totally different methods of actually handling this. And I want your opinion on it, because you had Tom Dumoulin, who had a white jersey contester, drop back on that final climb and help him up the climb. The flip side was Romain Bardet, who's probably second in charge, fought out for the stage win, ended up coming second. As a DS sitting in the car, are you ranting at one of those riders, or what's the dynamic there?
So they've both played it differently, and I totally understand how they've both played it. So you've got Team Sunweb, who have Tommy Dumoulin, who's probably going to be up there in the overall, who I think can compete up there in the overall. And he's had a guy that's possibly not going to really win the stage drop back and sort of help him out. He was in the white jersey, but may not have been in the white jersey at the end of the stage anyway. So they haven't really lost much. And then AG2R have a guy that's going to be competing for the win. And yeah, he's not dropped back for his teammate, but he's been up there and he got second overall, so I don't think you can.
That's okay. That was an absolute political bloody answer from him. So what I read into that is, okay, so the DS of Giant believe in Tom Dumoulin, right? They're willing to sacrifice a contester, whereas I get the feeling then AG2R don't believe in Romain Bardet, and they're like, oh geez, if we can snag a stage here, then maybe we go for it. It was a little bit like my opinion the other day with Warren Barguil's team putting a guy in the break. It's like, oh, I don't fully trust him. I don't know.
So you want my real opinion?
Yeah, I want your real opinion.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Team Sunweb have done it wrong. I'm going to call it out. Team Sunweb are the ones that haven't done it right. So Team Sunweb have dropped the guy back. They have risked everything on Tommy D, and that is standard Team Sunweb. They are all in for guys. They love to go that all in for guys. They've done that. They've also shown that with the drafting behind the car, and they've ended up a minute 13 down with the 20-second penalty for drafting. So they've ended up further back because they've gone all in. Whereas AG2R have ended up with second on the stage, and they're still only that 50 seconds, 1 minute down. So I think AG2R's done it right. My big question here is, where were the other guys from AG2R? They've got enough good climbers that they should have had a few guys there. Pierre Latour can have his free reign. He goes off, try and win that stage. It is important to be winning these stages. Where was Voulimos or one of the other good climbers to drop back for Romain Bardet? Good.
Finally got you fired up. So I thought, what a better opportunity to bring up a picture of the world's finest Masters 3 rider currently. What the hell is going on with this guy, right? So we are dealing with a man who, yes, like Elizabeth, like he's 4 years older than me, and he's like just smashing it off the front of the world tour. I don't know what's going on here with this fella. Where do we start with Alejandro Valverde?
I don't know. You've lost me. I'm speechless. This doesn't happen much, but I'm speechless about this guy. He just doesn't make sense. Physiologically, he doesn't make sense. As people get older,
That's code.
They're meant to get slower. He's getting faster. How is he getting faster? I don't believe he didn't have good drugs back 5 years ago. So either that stuff's getting better, or there's just something about this guy. And honestly, I'm speechless. Even if he is on some really good stuff, he's just like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better with age. Maybe it's tactics, maybe it's something like that, but he destroyed that sprint. He didn't go with those early moves, but he absolutely destroyed that sprint.
He's getting
he's
better.
Something else.
Okay, and he's in the team that we said right at the beginning is going to be the best soap opera in this world, in this race, and it is brewing as an absolute classic. Because I'm sorry, you got three guys here, and the early signs are that obviously the form amongst those three are different. Do you like this three-pronged attack? How do you see this playing out?
I love the three-pronged attack. I'm getting a bit annoyed with cycling. Let's call it how it is. It's very formulaic, it's very boring, and I'm looking forward to this three-pronged attack to sort of mix things up a little bit. I'm looking forward to seeing Valverde whack it off the front and making the other teams chase. As soon as they bring him back, let's have Quintana attack, make everyone chase. As soon as they bring him back, Landa goes, and just keep having these pot shots at these teams so that hopefully you can't have that team stranglehold on the race. Because to me, I'm just getting frustrated with this team stranglehold on the race. It's just,
I really want to
It's not as
believe
exciting.
you. I want to believe you that can work, but and we'll get more into the numbers chat a little bit later, but I just don't think dividing your resources like that can work. I don't think we know what Sky are going to do. We know exactly what Sky are going to do. They're going to hit the mountains. They're going to time trial it. I don't think sending little hand grenades up the road is going to be the answer, but I get to move on at this point.
Yeah, are Sky going to do that?
Are
That
Sky
is the
going
big
to do
question
that?
at the moment.
Because we need to talk about the Sky train. What is going on over there? All right. So we're probably, from what I gauge from what you're saying there is, okay, the controversy with AG2R, with Giant, with Movistar, it's just settled down. Just settle down. Let's kind of see how it all plays out over the next few weeks. Is this chat about Sky? Leave it on that picture for me, Luke. Is this controversy with Sky about G? Is there something in this?
I think there is. I actually really think there is something going on here. Garrett does not like playing second fiddle. He's said it a number of times himself, and at the moment I think he's got some big tickets on himself. I think he's a big fan of himself, and he's really going to be pushing to have the team follow him and work for him. He said it before the tour. He said, I'm not super domestique. I am not the backup option. I am the second leader of the team. And I think this is going to... this might blow up in Team Sky's face.
Okay.
They've got this really big personality, and I don't think he's going to want to just ride for Chris Froome. And I think he's saying right now, I'm a minute up on Chris Froome. I'm your team leader. Work for me. Don't work for Chris Froome. We all know Chris Froome hates that sort of thing as well. When he was told to rein it in for Wigo, he did not do that very well at all, to the point of dropping his teammate at times. And now he's older and more mature. I think he's going to think he deserves that front spot even more, and he's definitely not going to work for anyone else. And I think it could end up with infighting at Team Sky, and Team Sky works well because they're that really well-oiled machine that all work for each other. And
Really well-paid, oiled machine. Yeah.
And I think if that falls apart, whole Team Sky could fall apart, and fingers crossed that whole Team Sky fall apart.
Ah, well, one way or another, it will be interesting. So it would be remiss of me not to introduce some numbers chat while we have Mr. Van der Laan with us. I know I briefly kind of brought up some of the chat about the team time trial the other night, but you wanted to pick out a couple of other little bits and pieces that bobbed up on the web over the last few days.
Before we get to the numbers chat, let's just answer Danny's question about TJ. Let's just say he was no help to Richie. Yeah. Was he? Can you be much help in that finish? I don't think you can be a ton of help in that finish, really. Anyway, but
don't forget Richie bought attacked
Yeah.
up the muted opponent.
Yeah.
Like
So
that,
you don't need a ton of help
No.
for attacking.
Yeah.
And yeah, TJ, I don't reckon he's in it for himself. I think he knows that he's useless. If he doesn't, he should wake up and smell the roses. He's had his chances a number of times and failed a number of times. So
do you have an opinion on TJ?
Let's just give up on TJ, hey?
You know? TJ fans.
So back onto the numbers. Heyman, let's have a look at. I know you talked about Simon Clark's TT. Let's have a look at Heyman, who finished, and Orica ended up 5th, if I'm correct, maybe 6th in that TT, and we're only about 20 seconds off. And if we look at his numbers, for an 81 kilo guy, I'm actually looking at them and going, they're not all that impressive. Mm-hmm. They're solid numbers, 360 average, 390 normalised, but I
have a feeling there's a but coming.
They're not massive numbers. But, there's your but. What is impressive is if you actually look at his ride and you look at his turns, and they're just 500-600 watt turns again and again and again, and then he's recovering at this really quite solid pace. And I think that's what's really impressive about these TTTs, and they're ticking along at 50k an hour plus, and it takes a lot of watts to tick along at 50k an hour plus. And yeah,
can I bob in with something here? Because it always bemuses me why people think that someone who is a good time trialist will make a good team time trialist, because it is a totally different effort. It is, like you said, it's get to the front, go bananas for 30 seconds, swing off, recover, go do it again, which is, as we all know, as we are learning the art of the time trial. Great blog on that somewhere. It's like a totally different, even balanced effort. So like maybe even a sprinter.
Yeah. So team trials suit the sprinters a lot more. And that's why you see guys, especially the stronger sprinters, your Michael Matthews, your Daryl Impies, who's not quite a sprinter, but one of those stronger, punchier riders. They do really, really well in these team time trials because that power to get on the front, they've got that power to get on the front, and then they recover pretty well, and then they hit it again. Your pure TTers can actually struggle a little bit in these time trials because they don't have that ability to pump out those really massive watts and then recover from it. So yeah.
So you wanted to mention some of the climbs that the lads were doing.
Yeah, so we go on to the next one, Luke. We've got Damien Howson here from the day 5.
Yes.
Stage 5.
Yeah.
And if we look at it, 4.5 watts per kilo for 5 hours, not that massive. If we have a look at a few of like Chris's races and stuff in the NRS stuff, he's actually getting close to 4 plus for 3 to 4 hours in the NRS stuff. So it's not that massive. What was really big with Damien Howson's one was if you actually looked at his numbers and the run into the climb. So everyone always talks about the climbs and how much watts that they do in the climbs, and they don't look that massive, the watts that they're doing up the climbs. You have to remember the run into the climbs, and these guys were doing 350, 370, 380 for 2-3 minutes in the run into the climb, and it wasn't a pure that many watts either. It's a little 20-second burst at 5, 6, 7, 800 watts to move up in the peloton and move towards the front. And I think you really need to take that into account when you look at the watts that they're doing up the climbs. That's really solid. And I think these days, like the days yesterday, can be harder for your domestique guys than the team guys. And this comes back to that 3-prong attack because they're having to work really hard into the base of the climb, then they're having to work hard up the climb to try and hold on to the climb, and then they've got to try and do that again for the next climb, and that's solid for these guys. So yeah, although the numbers overall don't look impressive, if you actually look at the smaller little bits of the numbers, they're massive. And yeah, what these guys can do and how they back up again and again is impressive. If we go to the next one there, Luke, hopefully talk. So these are some of the numbers up the climbs from Matty Heyman, and if we look at those, they're not super impressive. 450 watts for an 80 odd kilo guy for 4 or 5 minutes, not that massive. But if we take into account that work that he's done into the climb and that work that he has to do again after the climb, that's where you really see the super impressive numbers. The other big thing for Matty Heyman that day is he was about 330 normalized power for 5 hours, which is good, but it's not massive for an 80 kilo guy. It's not crazy. So what was really impressive for him there, or what's really the takeaway there, is that 330 normalized had him out at 380 TSS for the day. And these guys are doing these 300 plus TSS days again and again and again. And for guys like, even Chris, who rides plenty,
and Jack Bennett,
that's gonna dig him a massive hole. And that I just can't stop laughing at that KO Financial Advice, Jack Bennett looks 80 kilos comment. Well done, Dan. You played that one well. That massive TSS day, and that's what these guys are really good at, is backing up these hard days after hard days. On Jack, that probably because they're allowed to get dropped up the climbs and be in gruppetto. I was talking specifically about those stages with those shorter, punchier climbs where these guys aren't allowed to be in the gruppetto. And a long climb, when they drop back into the gruppetto, that's a bit easier for them. But these days where they have to keep getting back up to the front and keep getting back into the bunch, that's where they really have. That's a hard day for the domestique.
Now, I was sitting there actually trying to think of a segue from numbers chat such as that onto fashion. Because that's where I want to take this for the next couple of minutes. Because that was some heavy shooting. You should just bugger off for a moment. It's just you and me for the next 2 or 3 minutes chat. Okay, Luke, can you bring up the next little batch, because we need to talk about eyewear. It's been very interesting this year. There hasn't been some dramatic changes. Oh, geez, can you just put Geraint Thomas's jawbreakers away for a minute? Seriously, go to the next. Yes, all right. Let's come here for that now. Originally, not a massive fan of the new Oakley. I think they're pilots. Someone in the comments can correct. Now, hold it back on Greg Van Avermaet for a minute. Wasn't originally much of a fan of it, but I'm starting to actually enjoy them a little bit more, particularly the no frame at the top when it's kind of molded into the same color. So he's obviously running a yellow helmet with that nice yellow frame down here, and just having the split across here, I'm actually starting to dig it. I think there's something there. Bit of a fan of Chavanel's custom lenses. Not a fan of his helmet gap that he does seem to be running, though that seems to be some kind of Euro-French spec that you now must run. Like, obviously, I think this team sort of brewed out of Europe car, so there was something that had to happen there. You finally got back to that picture. Well done. Now we can move on to the next one. Now, Nibbli's picked Rudy Project. Like, why do you bother? Every year you just come out with slop sunglasses. I don't understand it.
Are you sure you're not talking about the iPhone?
Well, the iPhone thing is, I couldn't. Well, that's the thing. No cameraman wants to take a picture of these sunglasses. I don't understand with a lot of these lenses why they always end up with this high nose bridge thing. Like even the laser ones we have a really nice sort of way that you can just actually open them up and they can sit properly on your nose. The high nose thing just looks ridiculous. And if you're running the same brand as helmet and sunglass, at least get it to try and match. It's hopeless. Okay. All right, go to Geraint Thomas's for a minute. Just leave it here. Sometimes with eyewear, Sonny's like, and it's like a lot of things, but some guys can just pull off whatever the hell they want. He can pull off whatever the hell he wants, basically.
Should the lens match the kit?
No. Not for him. He can do what he wants. He can wear ski goggles on the podium if he wants. It's his thing. Not bad. We ran the EKOIs. I'm not sure how we pronounce them last year. Pretty decent sunglasses. I actually like the ones that Gaveri has been running. They kind of mold in pretty nicely. Okay, can we go to Geraint Thomas?
Have we given up on those helmets with the inbuilt visor on the road?
Oh yeah.
What are our thoughts on those? They were something else. You still see them occasionally at Heffron every now and then.
Very true. Keep going, Luke. Keep going.
I'm getting more.
By the end of this, you're going to know who the people in this race are. Okay, now Geraint Thomas. Now,
even I know they're horrible. They're bad. If you
harbour ambitions of winning the Tour de France, and you harbour ambitions of one day becoming Sky's leader, no. That does not. It's not acceptable. I don't care if these are your good luck sunnies, or it can't be your good luck sunnies. You always crash. So I don't know what's going on. Little shout out to Richie. I like the fact that he just runs the M frame. Like, just yes, whatever. does it. All right, I'm happy I got sunglasses chat out of the way. I'll probably do that every week from now on. Now, finally, we will have a
Quick question before we go.
Yes.
How many sunglasses are currently in your collection?
No comment. No comment.
No comment?
No comment.
Are we going plus or minus 40?
Oh well, no less.
Including
less. But I had the advantage. I had the advantage of moving country a few times, so I had to actually
So you lost some.
lost some.
How many
Yes.
in the harbour?
No, we're not going into. No one's interested in my sunglass collection. Okay, we're gonna have to finish with the next stage, which is stage 7. Now, stage 7 has seen. It's gonna be a sprint stage. People are writing off a certain. No, Luke, go back to the.
This one?
There you go. People are writing off a certain large gorilla. You think they are wrong?
Yeah, so watching the stage 3, I think it was, finish a while ago now, he was the guy that really impressed for me. So, although Gaviria won the stage, I don't think he was the best sprinter on the day. I think it was Greipel. And if you watch the overhead shot of that last kilometre, he comes from about 15th, 16th wheel back, pops out, gets all the way to the front, gets in front of Gaviria, but because he started so far back, he had to go a little bit early. So he went early, he got to the front, and then in that last sort of 30-40 metres faded a little bit, and that's where Gaviria came past, and Sagan, who just loves sitting on a wheel, sat on the wheels the whole way and then popped around him. So he's my big one to watch. Of the sprinters, of course Gaviria's standing out, but I think the one that can challenge him is Greipel, and we haven't seen much from anyone else. Can Cav come back?
I'd love to. I'd be cool if he did.
He seems to be more interested in his kid than riding bikes at the moment. So
lame.
Yeah.
Do that. Now, while I've got you here, any smokies? Because you'll never be invited back, obviously. Any smokies on the rest of the tour? Luke, go back to that stage 7 preview and give away who his smoky is.
My smoky.
Well, you're
Primoz Roglic. I think Primoz Roglic is going to top 10 this race. I think he might be some big next thing in your Tommy Dumoulin type role.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a superstar coming through. So he's my big smoky for the tour. Do you have one, Milan? Do you have a big prediction coming up?
My prediction was that Vincenzo Nibali is going to have an absolutely cracking Roubaix stage.
Okay.
I genuinely, I don't. I've learnt to love this guy. I reckon he's a class act. The fact that he goes and races these classics, and you see him winning friggin' Milan-San Remo. You saw him in Flanders. Like, man, he's just a bike racer. It's a bit like Valverde. I just love that about those guys. So, he's my kind of pick. If he goes about it like that sort of aggressive way, which I think he will.
So if we stick to the cobbles, my next big prediction for the cobbles is we're going to have a couple of big crashes, and I think Richie Port's going to be involved, and I think Port's tour is going to be over after the cobble stage. That's my big prediction. Do you have a big prediction of someone bowing out?
No, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do the bow out predictions. Yeah, look, I think we kind of originally had it in the notes that it's interesting how this race now, it's really starting to focus on the cobbles. Everyone's kind of in and around that same area now. It'll be very, very interesting. We will wait and see. So I think any particular comments we should be answering at this point, Luke,
maybe
before
while they're showing some, I've just found some footage of the Swift event. If you want to quickly run that, explain what was going on there. Pop it
up, absolutely. So, we were down here in Melbourne to do a Zwift event, racing a few corporate weapons who I think must have been former pros. I'm certain they were former pros. By the way, the watts that you can see on the top left of that it's not calibrated. that
Looks about right
that
to me.
power meter was not calibrated.
That was
I checked it afterwards.
550. That's about
I checked
peak
it
watts for Chris
afterwards.
Miller.
There was I showed them the video on how to calibrate it.
Get a few more than you on.
Well, his power meter was calibrated seemingly.
He's on the same bike as you.
That's a concern. Did notice that now. That's a lot of. So that's Lee Phillips on the left. We'll be riding with him tomorrow, and Dan's actually got a bit of, and he's done that with man flu. Actually, he's been battling with man flu the last few days, so he was fresh. There you go, he was fresh. That's why he's come good. And I might admit,
is that your excuse? Are you sticking with the I wasn't fresh?
He did go with the full fist pump these ones as well. So it was a big win for the man, which is good. All right, guys, we will bid you farewell. We are taking this relatively successfully on the road, which I'm pretty stoked with.
Before we go, any other final questions for us? Anything that was interesting there? What's the distance shot? Yes, we're looking for sponsorship. We're always looking for sponsorship. Alexi, yeah, we'll go this way. Coke, if you want to help us out.
And
somebody asked any tips on joining
cheap Aldi red wine.
Where can they find out more information?
Send an EOI to racing@neroracing.com. Absolutely.
My biggest tip for people wanting to join Nero, and I'm sure Chris is the same here, is get yourself out to this state racing. VRS has good stuff, Queensland has good stuff, New South Wales has average stuff, but that's for another rant. But get yourself out to that racing, that higher quality racing. We do look at what's happening there, so get yourself out, have a good showing of yourself. That's your best way.
Yep. Far better that than sending power profiles and things, which often are.
We don't trust the people.
Fabricated.
We don't trust the people.
Yeah, well, that's true. Alrighty, guys, thank you very much. We will be back on Monday night, back in Brittany / somewhere in France, or wherever we download the wallpaper from that evening. Thank you, Dan. We're going to shake hands.
It's a pleasure.
That's good. There you go. We really enjoyed it. See you again next time, guys. Monday night, 8 p.m.